Inspiring millionaire discovers hidden love in humble maid, revealing a life-changing proposal. The headline blazed across Ethan Parker's mind like fireworks as he returned to Maplewood, a place he hadn't visited in years. He was a 35-year-old self-made millionaire, but the frenzy of city life felt far away as the tree-lined streets welcomed him home. The laughter of childhood friends echoed through his memories, and he longed to reconnect with the simpler things he had once cherished. His mother insisted he attend a charity gala for local veterans. Reluctantly, he dressed in his sharpest suit, every stitch a reminder of the riches he had accumulated. The glitz and glamour felt foreign here, surrounded by familiar faces that looked up to him with admiration and curiosity. Yet, a tightness gripped his chest as he navigated the crowd. Knowing his success sometimes felt like a heavy cloak. Then, amidst the sea of familiar faces, he spotted her, Sarah, a dedicated maid at the historical inn. She moved with a grace that caught him off guard. She was setting up the event, a radiant smile lighting her face despite the sweat on her brow. The warmth of her spirit contrasted sharply with the societal expectations clinging to him, like weeds in a garden. He marveled at her simple dedication to family and unwavering commitment to her community. "Shouldn't you be mingling with those important people?" she teased lightly, her eyes sparkling as she adjusted a small tablecloth. Ethan was taken aback by her candidness. He felt something shift within him, a longing to escape the suffocation of his upper-class life. Their connection blossomed, with each shared moment revealing their strengths. She inspired him to give back, to remember the values he'd left behind. But shadows lurked. His affluent friends scoffed at his affection for someone deemed ordinary. "You could do better," they insisted, tempting him with visions of opulent galas and high-society events. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the days passed, Ethan felt pulled apart, caught between his world and hers. The tipping point arrived one fateful evening when Sarah overheard a conversation. She misunderstood Ethan's struggle, thinking he was embarrassed by their differing social standings. Heart-heavy, she put distance between them, even as her love for him flourished. Ethan felt despair wash over him. This separation ignited a fierce resolve. The very norms his affluent friends perpetuated felt like shackles he needed to break. He loved Sarah for her kindness, her grit, not for her social status. But here he stood, helpless as she slipped further away. The community event approached, and Ethan finally gathered the courage to propose, his heart swelling with gratitude for Sarah's resilience. Just then, Sarah took to the stage, her eyes bright with determination as she spoke to the townspeople, transforming from the maid into a pillar of strength and courage. As the applause swelled, Ethan clutched the ring tight, ready to bridge the divide between them. His heart raced as he searched for her in the crowd, but then he saw her walking away, doubts weaving their way into her heart. Could love withstand such scrutiny and endless expectations? Desperation filled him as he chased after her. The answer lingered in the air, heavy with promise and uncertainty. Ethan's heart raced as he navigated through the throngs of people. He pushed past local town folk eager to shake his hand, blissfully unaware of the urgency coursing through his veins. Each step felt like a countdown. He spotted her ahead, her silhouette framed by the fading light of the sunset that cast a glow over Maplewood. "Sarah," he called out, desperation lacing his voice. She paused, her shoulders rigid, but didn't turn around. Every second felt like a year. "Sarah, wait." He was closer now, and he could see the glimmer of unshed tears in her eyes. They were all the proof he needed that she had misunderstood him, just as he had feared. In that moment, the world around him blurred. The celebration faded into the background, leaving only the two of them, standing on the precipice of something beautiful, yet so very fragile. Finally, she turned, her expression a mixture of hurt and confusion. "Why didn't you say something, Ethan?" "Why let me think?" Her voice faltered, breaking the resolve she had carefully constructed. "Why let me think you were ashamed of where I come from?" Ethan felt the weight of her words settle in the pit of his stomach. He had walked away from the gilded world he was born into for her. For a love so real. I'm not ashamed, Sarah. I never was. He reached for her hand, but she stepped back, eyes blazing like fireflies in the dusk. Then prove it, she whispered, her voice barely above a whisper, yet it was thunderous to him. Prove that you want me, that you want a life with me. Her challenge ignited something inside him, fueled his resolve. He had spent too long wallowing in doubt. Why was it so easy for others to dictate his feelings, to tell him who he should love? Ethan knelt before her, feeling the cool grass beneath him as he pulled the ring from his pocket. This isn't just about wealth or status. It's about you, about us. What we can build together. Her eyes widened at the sight of the ring, glinting in the last rays of the sun, a symbol of all he wanted to offer her. Hope flickered in her gaze. Will you have a life with me, as equals, as partners? The silence hung in the air thick with possibility. But just then, the raucous laughter of his friends echoed from the gala behind them, loud, arrogant, and oh so tempting. The voice of his past, taunting him to let go of this moment. Ethan. Sarah's voice shook slightly, reminding him of the stakes. What does it mean to be equal in a world like this? Swallowing hard, Ethan's heart ached. It means I would choose you over them, every single time. She looked at him, searching his eyes for sincerity, for truth. But what if no more what ifs, Sarah? His voice rose, but it wasn't angry. It was passionate. I've spent too long worrying about what others think. It's time to think about us, our love, our future. And I promise, no one will tell us who we are. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, she stepped forward, vulnerability painted on her face. Then let us create our own path. Ethan felt a rush of joy, a wave of relief washing over him. He slipped the ring onto her finger, filling the space between them with hope and new beginnings. But as they stood together, a sudden wave of voices interrupted them. His wealthy friends were approaching, their expressions a mixture of shock and disdain. Ethan gripped Sarah's hand tighter, ready to face the oncoming storm. He could feel tension crackling in the air. Could they withstand the judgment of his world? Before he could find the right words, Sarah glanced at Ethan, uncertainty creeping back into her smile. What happens now? She asked softly. The question hung heavily between them as Ethan took a deep breath, preparing to fight for the love that would change everything. Would their unique love be strong enough to challenge the expectations of society? Determination surged through him as he realized he was willing to fight for Sarah, for their future, no matter what came next. And with that realization, he took a step forward, ready to embrace whatever awaited them. But was love truly enough in a world that demanded perfection? As their friends loomed closer, tensions crackled in the air. The moment of truth was upon them. Ethan's stomach twisted as he and Sarah braced themselves for the inevitable confrontation. The laughter grew louder, a brash reminder of the world he had known, and the friends he believed he could leave behind. They were used to everything being easily accessible, nothing surprising them. They had no idea how deeply he cared for Sarah. As the group spilled into view, a parade of silk ties and designer dresses, Ethan tightened his grip on Sarah's hand. He turned to her, searching for her strength in that moment, because he knew this wouldn't be easy. The weight of choice loomed large over them. Just stay close, he urged softly, and she nodded, her face set in a determined expression that made his heart swell. She was ready for battle, too. Ethan, my dude, what are you doing? His friend Blake called out, a wide grin spreading across his face. Is this the pretty girl you've been hiding away? The way Blake's words dripped with sarcasm made Ethan's blood boil. Sarah stiffened beside him, but he refused to let the embarrassment seep into their moment. Yes, Blake. This is Sarah, and she's everything you're not. The words felt powerful, leaving his lips, a shield born from love. Blake blinked, momentarily caught off guard, before recovering. Come on. Are you seriously getting all sappy over a what, a waitress? He laughed, the sound prickling like 1,000 needles. Other friends joined in, snickers echoing around them. But Ethan didn't sway. He was done with remorse. No, she's not just that. She's my partner. My choice. The laughter faded, replaced by uneasy silence. The other friends exchanged glances, unsure how to respond. For a moment, it was like time stood still. Ethan could feel Sarah's pulse, raw and alive. He turned to her, seeing her uncertainty shift to cautious hope. Stand tall, he whispered, squeezing her hand, willing his energy into her. Wow, look who has finally grown a spine, someone from the group muttered, disdain rolling off their voice. Maybe it's time for you guys to grow up, Ethan replied, his voice steady and fierce. You think love is about status? It's not. It's about connection and respect. Respect? One girl scoffed. You think she can hold her own in our world? This isn't some fantasy, Ethan. In that moment, something in Ethan snapped. You're right. It's not a fantasy. It's reality. And the reality is that love can't be measured by how much money you have or what high society events you attend. This he gestured towards Sarah. This is real. Can you even understand that? Murmurs rolled through the group, confusion mingling with disbelief. There was something exhilarating in watching their world shatter, bricks falling, partitions dissolving. Yet, doubt flared briefly in his heart. Did they really understand? Sarah's breathing quickened, her eyes locked onto his, and for an instant, the world around them faded fully. All that mattered was the bond they had forged, raw and indestructible. What about us? Blake sneered, stepping forward, an attempt to dominate the situation. We are your friends, and they can't possibly love you the same way we do. Is that friendship? Ethan shot back, voice full of emotion. If you can't support my love for Sarah, then maybe I should reevaluate who my friends really are. Sarah's eyes widened, disbelief morphing into something more powerful: gratitude. The spark in her gaze told him that his words had ignited a fire in her. Today's the whispers intensified. Ethan took a step towards Sarah. We deserve to be happy, and if they can't see that, we'll find our own happiness. Together. But as he said those words, uncertainty flickered once again in Sarah's eyes. Will we really be okay? It sounds so easy, but I will fight for us. Ethan promised, stepping closer with conviction that wrapped around them both. I'll face whoever I need to, as long as you stand by me. Just as Sarah's lips parted to respond, a tall figure stepped forward from the crowd, an unexpected ally. It was Mr. Collins, the local mayor, and someone Ethan had always respected. Ethan, Sarah's deep voice commanded silence. I've known you both for a while, and I've seen something real here. Love is hardly defined by wealth or status. In fact, it's those that challenge that mold so often that truly change the world. His words hung heavy in the air, swirling around the tension and insecurities, offering a flicker of hope. Ethan turned to Sarah, emotions tangled in uncertainty. What would happen next? Would Mr. Collins stand against his privileged friends? More importantly, could they forge their own path amidst the chaos? Before Ethan could ask, the group erupted into blaring voices, outrage mixed with disbelief. The future loomed before them, unpredictable and thrilling. Are we really ready? He wondered silently as the storm of words coalesced, daring them with the unknown. Ethan felt the tension surging like a tide around him. Mr. Collins' presence brought an unexpected jolt of momentum, but the cacophony of voices from his friends drowned out the hope he clung to. He glanced at Sarah, desperate for her comfort, finding only uncertainty reflected in her eyes. Why are you siding with them? Blake's contempt dripped from his tone, now directed at the mayor. They don't belong to our world. Mr. Collins stood firm, his eyes steady as he locked onto Blake. You misunderstand the essence of belonging, my young friend. It isn't measured by the thickness of your wallet, but the strength of your heart. The silence following his words was thick, dense with a mixture of thoughtfulness and tension. Ethan seized the moment, stepping closer to Sarah. That's right. It's about love, not decorum, he said, his voice rising above the murmur. Those who really care see beyond the facade. Love? With her? Another friend squeaked incredulously, disbelief etched on their face. You must be joking, Ethan. A waitress? A maid? What will people think? I don't care what people think. Ethan shot back, anger flaring like a fire igniting. Sarah makes me feel alive. She challenges me to be better, and she's worth every ounce of respect. That's a pretty fantasy you've built, Ethan. Wake up, the girl from the group pressed with a smirk, but the confidence in her voice faltered just slightly. As the murmurs washed over them, Ethan couldn't help but notice Sarah's shoulders shake slightly beside him, her breath hitching. Was she hurt by their words? He turned to her, fear tightening his chest. Sarah, but she met his gaze, shaking her head softly. A small, fierce spark ignited in her eyes as if her heart was saying enough is enough. Ethan, she began, softly but firmly. I know who I am. I'll never be ashamed. You shouldn't either. The ground felt strangely steady beneath Ethan's feet as the crowd held its breath. He could feel the solidarity growing between them, a tether stronger than the laughter that had mocked moments before. Oh please, spare us the theatrics, someone in the back huffed. This one tea last. You'll get bored. Ethan's pulse raced. And if we don't? He asked, frustration bleeding into his words. Is something real too much for your understanding? Mr. Collins stepped back, observing Ethan with a mix of pride and caution. Sometimes, it takes a single person to challenge what's considered acceptable, to break through barriers others can't see. Barriers? Blake scoffed, gesturing at Ethan. You'd throw your life away on a girl who serves fries? When did this become our world's fairy tale? In that moment, Ethan made a choice. Heart pounding, he turned fully to Sarah, catching her hand tighter in his. This isn't a fairy tale. It's life, real and messy. I don't want a scripted happiness. I want you. A hush fell as his words sank in, heavy and unwavering. Sarah's breath hitched again, but this time it was a sound of hope, not hurt. The energy in the air shifted like a gust of wind, and for the first time, the crowd looked less like adversaries and more like puzzled spectators. What if we're just getting started? Sarah whispered, a small smile breaking through the tension. Ethan glanced at Mr. Collins, who seemed genuinely moved. Our story is just beginning, he affirmed, looking toward the discombobulated group behind them. But just as the barriers began to thin, a loud voice rang out, shattering the frail glimmer of peace. If you two think you can change everything just like that, you're sorely mistaken. Ethan's heart sank as he recognized the unmistakable figure advancing. It was his father, and he was not going to let this go unchallenged. The atmosphere shifted once again, pregnant with looming threats and uncertain futures. Ethan's focus sharpened, adrenaline surging through him. Dad, he murmured under his breath, what now? His father's eyes narrowed as he approached with an air of authority, the kind only one who knew how to command a room could wield. Ethan swallowed hard. Would he stand by Sarah, or would he be pulled back? Into the world he was desperate to escape? Would love be enough to shield them from what was coming next? The conflict was just beginning, and the stakes were higher than ever. Ethan braced himself as his father approached, each step echoing his resolve and all the weight of expectations that came with it. The crowd seemed to part like waves, the murmurs dying down into an uneasy silence. His father, confidently dressed in a tailored suit, commanded presence, and Ethan felt a flicker of doubt, a shadow that threatened to swallow his defiance. Ethan, his father started, a mix of frustration and disappointment lacing his words. You're making a spectacle of yourself. The edge in his tone cut through the tension, sharp as a knife. I expected better. As he locked eyes with his father, Ethan's heart raced not with fear, but with determination. He refused to hide behind shame anymore. I'm not the one making a spectacle, he shot back, sparking a surprised glance from Sarah. I'm standing for what matters. Oh really? His father's voice dripped with sarcasm. And what matters? A fling with a waitress? This is not just about you, Ethan. It's about our family, the legacy you'll inherit. The reminder stung, but Ethan met his father's gaze without flinching. This isn't a legacy I want. It's not about the world you built. It's about the life I choose. The heat of his words ignited a flicker of hope in Sarah's eyes, a signal that perhaps she, too, was ready to fight. His father's brow furrowed as he looked between Ethan and Sarah. You think you can just ignore what the world expects of you? That being with someone like her will be accepted? It's naive, kid. You'll face consequences. Maybe I want to face those consequences, Ethan replied, gripping Sarah's hand tighter. I'm tired of pretending to fit into a mold I never belonged in. I want to be with someone who sees me for who I really am, not just the title I have. Blake stepped forward, a flicker of challenge in his demeanor. You're throwing everything away, Ethan. This is high school drama, and you're the lead in a bad play. But Mr. Collins interjected, his voice calm yet firm. You've all done enough talking for today. It's time to listen, not just hear. Ethan's eyes widened as Mr. Collins spoke with a weight that seemed to settle over the gathering, dragging their attention with it. Real connections aren't defined by social standing. They are defined by the strength to stand true in your beliefs. He turned to Ethan and Sarah. The road ahead won't be easy, but the love you share can shine a light through the darkness. Tension lingered, thick in the air, as Ethan stole a glance at Sarah. Her unwavering determination was emboldening. Together, they could face this storm. He squeezed her hand again, a silent promise tethering their souls. The babble around them faded. It was just him and her in that moment. Ethan's father shifted uncomfortably, realization flickering in his eyes. Perhaps he hadn't expected his son to stand so firmly. The crowd seemed to hold its breath, caught in the electric mix of anticipation and dread. Enough. The word erupted from his father, sharp as thunder. You want to choose this path? Then don't expect my support. You'll face it alone. With a sudden turn, he strode backward, each step echoing with finality, leaving Ethan shaken but resolute. Dad, wait. Ethan called after him, but as his father's figure disappeared into the crowd, he felt a void start to settle. The threat of isolation loomed large, but beside him, Sarah stood strong, her expression unwavering. Ethan, she murmured, what if this is what it takes to build our story? What if this is just the beginning? He declared, feeling a punch of adrenaline rush through him. We can't let them dictate our lives. And that's when the crowd erupted, a mix of murmurs and emotions swirling around them. You shouldn't be together. A voice cried out, but mixed within were whispers of admiration. Ethan glanced at Sarah again. The fire in her eyes reflected his own resolve. As they held each other's gaze, a silent understanding passed between them. The real challenge lay ahead, not just in confronting societal norms, but in reinforcing their love against the tides of doubt. But just when it seemed they could breathe, another voice broke through the chaos, questioning everything. What happens when reality hits? How far will you go to prove this love? Ethan felt that question land like a stone in his chest. It echoed through the gathering and deep in his own heart. Would their love withstand the world's scrutiny? Every ounce of his being begged for answers, surrounded by uncertainty and challenge. Ethan squeezed Sarah's hand one last time, determination blooming inside him like wildfire. Let us find out together, he whispered as their hands intertwined. The world around them seemed poised on the precipice of change. The storm was far from over, it was escalating. But was love real enough to defy the odds that stretched before them? The answer waited just out of reach, buried in their untold journey ahead. The noise of the crowd was a storm of voices, all swirling around Ethan and Sarah like leaves caught in a whirlwind. Their hearts raced, a symphony of adrenaline and fear. Ethan could feel the weight of judgment hanging in the air, a darkness that threatened to snuff out the light they had just uncovered in each other. What if we find out the truth together? He countered, his voice steady despite the turmoil around them. What if love is worth all these challenges? Sarah nodded, her grip tightening around his. I believe it is. We just have to show them. The fire inside Ethan burned brighter. The doubts his father had planted were still there, but he refused to let them take root. He stole a glance at Sarah, her eyes glistening with determination, and a wave of warmth washed over him. She was here, standing by his side, willing to face the world as they were. Enough of this, Blake interrupted, stepping forward with a scornful smirk. You think you're some kind of hero? This is high school, not a fairy tale. Look around, Ethan. Do you think they'll cheer for you when it really matters? Ethan squared his shoulders, focusing on Blake. I don't care about their cheers. I care about being true to myself. The murmurs of the crowd began to shift, a mix of dissent and curiosity. Don't you get it? Blake continued, almost pleading. You're risking everything. What happens if she breaks your heart? Then I'll deal with it. Ethan shot back, his voice steady though his insides twisted. At least I'll know I lived. The crowd seemed to collectively hold its breath. It was a pivotal moment, one where uncertainty met bravery in an open field of judgment. Ethan looked deep into Sarah's face, searching for doubt, but only finding resolve. We'll build our own way. I want to let fear decide for us. Then a voice broke through the tension, softer, yet commanding. Ethan, what if it doesn't work out? What if you end up alone? An older woman, one of the school faculty, stepped forward, her brow creased with concern. Ethan's heart thudded. She was right. The fear of failure loomed like a dark cloud. What did you want me to do? He asked, a fire igniting in his chest. Live the life that someone else wanted for me. That S not living, that S dying slowly. Sarah's eyes sparkled with unshed tears, but they weren't tears of sadness. They were brave, forged from the fire of their situation. We'll fight, Ethan. Together. The crowd's murmur deepened, pulling the tension tighter. Voices of support mixed in with those still heavy with judgment. It felt like the whole world was on a knife's edge, poised to see whether Ethan would fall or rise. Suddenly, Sarah stepped forward, breaking their circle of fear. You all want to know how far we'll go? Watch us. Her declaration rang out, defiant and unyielding. The crowd fell silent, taken aback. Despite the isolation rushing in from all sides, Ethan could feel the momentum shift. People were no longer just spectators, they were witnesses. Together, Ethan whispered, finding strength in their unity. But even as resolve flickered in the air, shadows still loomed over them. There was a road ahead filled with uncertainty, and every glance at their peers reminded him that betrayal could be lurking in the hearts of even their closest friends. Would they make it through the storm, or would their love be swept away in the tide? As Ethan and Sarah stood firm, hands clasped together, another voice slashed through the air, sharp as glass. You think this is all part of some big adventure? Life is not a movie, Ethan. It's messier than that. His heart pounded. Would they succeed, or would this chapter of their lives crash down around them? Looking at Sarah, he knew one thing. They had to find out. Ethan felt the sting of Blake's words wrap around him like a vine ready to choke out the light. The crowd's lingering silence pressed down, and he could sense the tension crackling in the air, sharp and electric. He took a deep breath, the kind that steadied his racing heart, as he turned to Sarah. Blake might be right about one thing. Ethan started, surprising himself. Life isn't a movie, but it can still be beautiful. He watched her face, searching for doubt. Instead, he found a soft smile slowly blooming, full of hope and strength. Beautiful together, Sarah whispered, her voice barely above the murmurs in the crowd, but enough to ignite something inside him. Ethan took a step forward, pulling Sarah gently with him. We don't need everyone's acceptance, he declared. What matters is the truth between us, the trust we build, and the love that grows, he said, his eyes scanning the faces watching them. Some looked at him as if he were strange, while others began to nod. A ripple moved through the crowd, whispers of curiosity starting to drown out the judgment. The moment felt fragile, as if a single word could shatter the hopeful glimpse of change. Maybe you're worried about how they see you, Ethan continued, finding courage in Sarah's unwavering gaze. But isn't love worth stepping outside the shadows? We deserve to be free, he urged, feeling the truth saturate his words. Blake's face twisted with anger, but Ethan noticed the doubt in his eyes. It's all a game to you, isn't it? He spat. You think you're brave, but this is just a phase. You'll wake up in a few months realizing you made a mistake. Ethan shook his head. No, this isn't a phase. This is real. He looked at Sarah, the embodiment of his truth. What we have is worth fighting for, no matter how messy it is. All around them, the crowd hung on every word. Ethan could hear the soft murmurs growing uncertainty mixed with intrigue. For the first time, he felt like he was shifting something in their hearts, that the ice might be beginning to crack. Do you want to see a mistake? Sarah stepped up next to him, her voice strong. Look at the people who can only throw insults. Love isn't a mistake. It's what drives us. It makes us who we are. You're fooling yourselves, Blake growled, but even his voice wavered. Isn't it better to risk heartbreak than to live a life without love? Sarah challenged, taking a brave step even closer to Blake. You don't know the power of being truly seen. You don't know what it feels like to hold someone's hand and know they get you. Ethan found himself nodding again, energizing the crowd. The softening expressions were telling. Biases were slowly being peeled away. Hope danced in the air like fireflies, and with every sentence they spoke, walls started to crumble. The tension began to shift, like the weight of 1,000 expectations lifting, if only just slightly. It was just enough to see a flicker of empathy in a few faces. But just as Ethan felt the tide changing, he caught a glimpse of someone in the crowd, someone who shouldn't have been there. His heart sank, and fear pierced through him like a knife. It was his father. Dad, he breathed, disbelief washing over him. That one sight sent a tremor through Ethan. Would his father drown out everything they had worked for? Or would he finally see his son for who he truly was? As he stood there, adrenaline racing, he realized they were at the edge of something greater. The next words from his father could change everything or break them apart. The questions hung heavy in the air. Would love withstand the storm? Was this the moment that would define them, or would it rip them apart? Ethan's heart raced, each beat echoing in the sudden stillness that enveloped him. It was as if the world had paused, holding its breath. He stood frozen, his father's presence a sharp contrast to the warmth he had felt moments before. Panic clawed at his throat, and he could feel Sarah's hand tremble slightly in his grip. "Ethan," his father called, voice laced with an authority that sent shivers down his spine. The casual confidence that had surged in him only seconds ago began to quiver at the edges, fraying under the weight of his father's gaze. "Why are you here?" Ethan managed, voice steadier than he felt. There was no missing the incredulity mingled with fear in his own tone, as if asking a question he wasn't sure he wanted an answer to. "I came to see what's going on," his father replied, brows furrowing slightly. "And what's this?" He gestured to the crowd, to Sarah standing beside him, defiant and radiant. Blake smirked, his posture shifting as he seized the moment. "Looks like someone isn't the only one caught off guard." Ethan shot him a glare, but Blake only shrugged as if he enjoyed the spectacle playing out. Sarah squeezed Ethan's hand tighter, grounding him. "We're here, standing up for what we believe in," she declared, a spark of determination lighting in her eyes. "Is this what you want?" his father asked suddenly, cutting through the noise. "To be the topic of gossip? Is this who you really are?" The words slammed into Ethan like a freight train. He didn't have a ready answer. But as he felt Sarah's unwavering presence, an idea started to form in the back of his mind. "You're right," he said, voice rising with conviction. "This is who I am. Proud and in love. And I won't hide it anymore." His father's brow knit tighter, mouth tightening into a line. "What do you know about love? You're just a kid playing a dangerous game." Ethan's breath hitched. "It's not a game for me." The intensity behind his words echoed in his chest. "Sarah means everything. This isn't something to dismiss lightly. You taught me that love is about connection, about choosing to be vulnerable." The crowd around them swelled with whispers, caught between intrigue and uncertainty. Faces shifted, some expressed sympathy, while others held on to their judgment. "What will it take for you to understand?" Sarah stepped forward, defiance gleaming in her eyes. "It doesn't matter what the world thinks. What matters is who we choose to be together. We deserve a chance to show that love can be bold." "Bold." Blake laughed mockingly, trying to draw attention back to himself. "You'll regret this one day. You'll fall back into line. You're both, just stop," Ethan shouted, cutting through the chaos. The rush of emotions surged within him, anger and fear pouring out. "This isn't about you. This is my life." For a heartbeat, the tension shifted again. Ethan's father stood still, processing. His eyes flickered with something confusion, concern. Ethan took a step closer, heart pounding in his chest. "All I want is to be seen as I am. Can you accept that?" The world hung on that question, and for just a moment, the crowd held its breath along with him. Then, without warning, his father took a step back, his expression unreadable. "I need to think," he muttered, turning away. The sudden loss hung thick in the air, and Ethan felt cold creeping in where warmth had been. Was this conversation over? Or just beginning? But in the silence that followed, he felt a surge of strength from Sarah, lighting a path for what lay ahead. "Do you think he'll come around?" Sarah whispered, her eyes searching his, searching for hope. "I don't know," Ethan admitted softly. "But for the first time, I'm ready to find out." And as they stood together in the crowd's expectant gaze, the whisper of a new beginning unfurled around them, igniting old fears and fresh dreams all at once. What would the next confrontation bring? Ethan watched as his father retreated, the weight of silence pressing down on him like a lead blanket. Thoughts raced through his mind, conflicting emotions blurring the edges of what had just unfolded. The crowd remained, a living tidal wave of whispered conversations and scrutinizing gazes. Some faces mirrored his anguish, while others wore expressions of judgment, as if they doubted their courage to stand out like him. Sarah's hand was still in his. He could feel her warmth radiating toward him, steady and unwavering. "You did it," she said softly, her voice a soothing balm against the turbulent sea of emotions in him. You stood up, but at what cost? He murmured, feeling a familiar guilt creep in. What if I just broke something that can't be fixed? She shifted closer, her face filled with compassion and understanding. You didn't break anything. You're starting to build something real. It takes courage to show who you truly are, Ethan. And people will adjust. You just need time. He wanted to believe her. He wanted to believe that his father would return and see him. Really see him, not the person he expected him to be. But even as the crowd's energy flickered like a candle in the wind, doubt nagged at him from within. Blake broke the tension, stepping into Ethan's line of sight, with that same smirk plastered across his face. Well, it seems we have a little rebel on our hands, he taunted, the crowd eager to latch onto the drama. What's next? A protest? Maybe you could start a club for the misunderstood? Shut up, Blake, Ethan spat, feelings of inadequacy being punctuated by frustration. This isn't a joke. Oh, it's not. Blake challenged, crossing his arms and leaning in closer, as if taunting Ethan to prove him wrong. You think standing here makes you a hero? What happens when your father finally loses it? What happens then? Enough, Sarah interjected, her voice rising, surprising Ethan with its strength. This is about love. Real love. You wouldn't understand, and you don't get a say in this. Her fierce protection stirred something inside Ethan, an ember of hope mixed with the fear that still lingered. Before he could respond, he caught sight of his father reapproaching, a storm of mixed expressions swirling in his eyes. Ethan, his father said, tone softer now, edged with uncertainty. I can't pretend to understand everything right now, but you're my son. I just want what's best for you. Ethan's heart raced again, on the precipice. Does that mean you'll listen? Can you try to understand? His father hesitated, the tension simmering in the air thick enough that everyone around them held their breath. I need to, he finally said, his voice low. I need to understand if this is who you really are, and not just a phase. Ethan nodded, the reality of his father's conditional acceptance both terrifying and liberating. It was a start, a flicker of the bridge they would need to cross together. Sarah's grip tightened again, and Ethan turned to face her, the night alive with the loud whispers of potential and the quiet promise of love. Hope flared in his chest, a desire to move forward. Let us not let fear control us, he whispered to Sarah. Let us show them how we love. So what's next? She asked, her eyes sparkling, reflecting his own awakening drive. We face it together, he replied with newfound determination. Every step forward is ours to take. As they stood united while the world watched, Ethan felt the curtain lifted from the shadows of doubt. But the journey ahead still loomed, filled with uncertainties. How far would they have to go before real understanding could emerge? And just like that, as the crowd shifted around them, Ethan wondered what other battles awaited them just over the horizon. Ethan felt a wave of determination surge through him as he faced the crowd with Sarah by his side. His heart pounded, not from fear, but from hope. This wasn't just about him anymore. It was about them together, standing against all odds. His father's reluctant acceptance was a crack in their long-standing barrier. Now, it was time to build a new reality, one defined not by wealth or status, but by love and honesty. I won't compromise who I am, he declared, his voice ringing with power. The faces in the crowd began to shift, some nodding in silent agreement, others still tethered to judgment. Love creates its own rules, Sarah chimed in, her voice steady and fierce. We're here to pave our way, and that starts now. The twinge of tension hung in the air, but a flicker of hope sparked, igniting a change in the atmosphere. People began to lean in, intrigued by their bravery. Ethan's father stood still, taken aback by the defiance and strength radiating from both his son and the woman he loved. Could he really turn his back on Ethan now? The crowd waited, their eyes bouncing between the three of them, anticipation palpable. Do you think you can just walk away from your family? His father challenged, the anger simmering just beneath the surface, yet tinged with the slightest hint of vulnerability. Family is more than blood, Ethan responded, taking a deep breath. It's support, encouragement, and acceptance. I choose to be with someone who believes in me and inspires me. Isn't that what you wanted from me after all? Ethan's words hung in the air, his gaze unwavering, seeking truth and understanding in his father's eyes. His father hesitated, the lines of his face deepening as turmoil washed over him. I just want you to have the best, the right connections, he muttered, almost as if he was trying to convince himself rather than Ethan. I want genuine love, Ethan countered, strength building in his chest. If that means sacrificing what is considered normal, then so be it. Love is what drives us, what pushes us to be our best selves. Around them, murmurs erupted. Some faces mirrored his father's disappointment, while others were filled with admiration. It was a turning point. Those who had once judged now began to reconsider. With a newfound confidence, Ethan turned back to Sarah, her unwavering spirit bolstering his resolve. Together, we can show them that love doesn't have a price tag. It's worth fighting for, no matter how tough the road ahead is. Will you stand beside me? Sarah asked, her voice firm yet warm, glimmering with hope that connected with everyone present. I'll stand beside you until my last breath, Ethan said. The soft warmth of her hand in his felt like the sun breaking through a clouded sky. His father finally shifted, a new emotion washing over him. Perhaps it was fear, perhaps realization. What if you fall? He questioned, his voice quieter, no longer laced with anger, but with genuine concern. If I fall, I'll get up again, Ethan declared, the truth of his words resonating in the hearts around them. Just as long as I don't have to do it alone. And there it was, his father's face softened, the glimmer of understanding slowly emerging from behind years of disappointment. Maybe I need to learn to accept your choices, he finally replied, his voice barely above a whisper. The atmosphere shifted dramatically. You could almost feel the weight being lifted off them. The crowd responded with a soft swell of support, murmurs of understanding rippling through. That essay start, Sarah encouraged gently, her smile radiant. We're ready to show everyone how love truly connects people. An unexpected wave of applause erupted from the crowd. People began to stand, clapping slowly at first before building into an enthusiastic cheer. It was a pivotal moment, a small but mighty ripple of change, led by love's brave survivors. Ethan's heart soared as he gripped Sarah's hand firmly. She looked up at him, her eyes shining with unshed tears of joy. In that moment, they felt invincible. As the applause filled the air, it drowned out the doubts, the naysayers, and ignited a sense of community. There, in the heart of Maplewood, it became clear to everyone present that love could, and would, change the world. The journey ahead would be filled with bumps and challenges, but together they would face it all. Side by side, they took the first steps into an uncertain future, knowing they would embrace whatever lay ahead. Ethan beamed down at Sarah, grateful for her unwavering support. This is just the beginning, he whispered. Yes, she replied, squeezing his hand, her smile bright and full of promise. This is our moment. As the crowd cheered them on, Ethan thought of every challenge yet to come, every judgment they might face, and he felt an unwavering strength wash over him. They were ready. The story of their love was unfolding in real time, a tale of resilience, courage, and genuine transformation. And as they walked forward into the sunset, arms intertwined, they knew that together, they would rewrite the narrative of their lives one step, one heartbeat, one love at a time. Now is your moment. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and keep the inspiration alive. Comment your reactions and feelings about this powerful ending. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait, not even one more second to share. Only true fans understand the importance of lifting each other up.